we're being told one story, which is totally different than what's occurring or what occurred last night.
It looks very untrained, it looks unprofessional, it looks very chaotic. It doesn't look like there's clear teamwork tactically to achieve the same objective.
Oh, that's gonna hurt!
It's hard for Trump to make the claim that the influx of ICE agents to communities across the country is about law and order, when those who also swore an oath to uphold law and order are coming out against the actions of ICE agents. That's right, from Minneapolis to Maine, Portland, the tide is very much turning against the president.
We just have a few moments here, but it seems to be some smoke is rising. I don't know if these are smoke bombs. It was peaceful when we began to talk, and we noted that rhetoric really matters now, and calming tensions really matters. What are we seeing on our screens now? What's your analysis of this?
Yeah, I mean, they're trying to keep things calm and, diffuse the tension. Again, Kaylee, this is not what agents ever want to have happen. It's insulting to hear this governor make it seem like, this is the wild, wild west and this is what they want to be doing. This is not what they want to be doing. They are literally enforcing the laws. These are targeted interactions. These are targeted operations. They are simply doing their job. And again, without the details of who the subject is, whether they were someone that they were arresting, whether they...
It is absolutely not how we train law enforcement in Minnesota. And I think the greater issue, the greater concern is, people should be able to have an expectation that the federal government can enforce federal immigration law without these poor tactics and really unconstitutional practices.
In Minneapolis, Police Chief Brian O'Hara publicly warned his own officers that, if they don't intervene when federal ICE agents use unlawful force, then they risk losing their jobs, and went on to say that local officers have a duty to step in to prevent excessive force by federal partners. I mean, this is a striking rebuke from the top police officer in a city under strain, and it marks a rare moment where local law enforcement is openly calling out the conduct of Trump's federal immigration agents rather than, backing them.
We have experienced reports in this city, and I'm sure in St. Paul also, where people call to say that there's folks that are masked, that they're not sure if they're law enforcement, that they may be kidnapping people. Like, we have had those reports. I want to be clear to the community. The community should know that if you see something like that is legitimate, that you don't know if someone is law enforcement, you should call 911. And you should provide as much information as possible, because let's not forget, we very recently had tragedy in this state by someone who was purporting to be law enforcement. So please, let's be clear. That's something everyone should report, and that we will immediately respond to, and we will document, whether it's somebody's not sure if there's a kidnapping happening, somebody's not sure if there's law enforcement present or not. And that's something else that's additional policy requirements that we are implementing, that we will document and report these types of things anytime that we hear it, and reminding our officers of their duty to intervene. So if there is anything that is, a violation of someone's human rights or civil rights, excessive force or anything like that, they absolutely have a duty to intervene as police officers.
And then in Portland, Maine, County Sheriff Kevin Joyce, he didn't soften his criticism either. He slammed ICE for detaining one of his own corrections officer recruits in the street, despite the man having passed all background checks and being cleared to work through 2029. And when he was asked about it, the sheriff didn't mince his words. He said, quote, "They all took off, leaving his car unsecured. That's Bush League policing."
Well, now the immigration raids are in Maine, and controversy followed right along with them. Look at this video from Portland. Federal agents swarmed and detained a man in his car on Wednesday. Now, DHS claims he was here illegally. You can hear the man say that he's a corrections officer, and the local sheriff confirms it. He says the officer is legally allowed to work in the United States. And now the sheriff is furious at how this went down.
What's even more disturbing is the comment made by the witness that videotaped this encounter, who said that in the 3 minutes they got out, they pulled a guy from the car, handcuffed him, put him in the car, they all took off, leaving his car with the windows down the lights on, unsecure, and unoccupied. They left it right on the side of the street. Folks, that's Bush League policing.
I'm joined now by the Cumberland County Sheriff, Kevin Joyce. Sheriff, thank you for being with us tonight. I mean, so many people resonated with your words. I have to ask first, do you know if the corrections officer is still in detention?
Good evening, Laura. Yes, as far as I know, he is in an unknown location outside of the state of Maine.
DHS tonight is claiming in a statement that the officer is from Angola and illegally crossed the border in 2019. And they added this quote, "A lawbreaker being employed as a corrections officer at a county jail is shocking." What's your response to their statement?
Well, I think that it kind of goes back to about a year ago when I and 100 other of the sheriffs in the nation listened to Tom Holman and listened to the fact that the process was going to be that they were going to lock down the borders and they were going to get all of the criminal, illegal aliens off the street. And, you know, I left that meeting thinking I can't disagree with that. What we're seeing here with my corrections officer is that he applied. He had an I-9, which gave him the right to work in the state of Maine. The county's HR department made sure that he was legal to work there. We vetted this guy. He took a polygraph, so he did not commit any crimes whatsoever.
And this follows suit with what's happening across the country, from county sheriffs to police chiefs. There's a growing body of law enforcement voices saying the same thing, that ICE operations are going too far, they're too heavy-handed, they're too aggressive, and they're not coordinating well with local policing. None more so than, as I noted at the start, in Minneapolis, where countless local police unions and chiefs have said that federal agents they basically lack the proper crowd control management and training that they need, and it only makes the situation on the ground more dangerous.
Recently, as the last 2 weeks, we as law enforcement community have been receiving endless complaints about civil rights violations in our streets from U.S. citizens. What we're hearing is they're being stopped in traffic stops or on the street with no cause and being forced to demand paperwork to determine if they are here legally. As this went on over the past 2 weeks, we started hearing from our police officers the same complaints as they fell victim to this while off duty. Every one of these individuals is a person of color who has had this happen to them. In Brooklyn Park, one particular officer that shared her story with me was stopped as she passed ICE going down the roadway. When they boxed her in, they demanded her paperwork, of which she's a U.S. citizen and clearly would not have any paperwork. When she became concerned about the rhetoric and the way she was being treated, she pulled out her phone. In an attempt to record the incident, the phone was knocked out of her hands, prevented her from recording it.
And you've seen it from Minnesota's governor and attorney general calling for reductions in federal boots on the ground altogether as tensions, continued to mount. I mean, if you have sheriffs in Maine, not progressive legislators or protesters, saying the same words about ICE's conduct as officers across the country too, this is a direct contradiction to the Trump administration's story about immigration enforcement, right? Trump's messaging has always been that the federal presence helps restore order, constantly describing ICE as professional and disciplined and that local authorities support these operations. But clearly it's not the case.
I acknowledge there need to be some money, but we've thrown so much money at this problem that, there are just piles of it sitting around that I think people ought to think this through before. It's not all or none. I don't want to defund ICE, but I'm not sure I want to give them billions and billions more without any kind of signs of there are going to be some rules of the game and there will be an independent investigation.
Well, there's a test vote tomorrow on the floor, so we'll see where that goes, Senator.
And when countless sheriffs beg to differ, it pokes holes in that narrative. Not to mention this shift also coincides with what we are now seeing on conservative-leaning outlets, a departure from the belief that Trump's immigration strategy is actually good for America. On Fox News, of all places, Fox News, they are now turning against Trump on this matter.
So since Donald Trump, quote unquote, took down the temperature, an ICE agent on video threatening, you raise your voice, I erase your voice. You have agents trying to get into the Ecuadorian embassy because they think they can round up some illegals there. That's illegal based on international law. Told by someone who works at the consulate, back up. He says, if you touch me, I'll grab you. Kyle Cheney at Politico has been tracking the cases of folks who have been detained, found 2,300 cases since July alone where the judge has ruled that ICE has illegally detained someone.
Taxpayer dollars should be used to address the affordability crisis here in the United States of America, which is very real. It's not a hoax. It's ongoing, by the way. Taxpayer dollars should not be used to brutalize or kill American citizens or to violently target law-abiding immigrant families. So there are a variety of reforms that need to be put into place that the American people are demanding. Your own poll has shown that everyday Americans have concluded that ICE has gone too far and that behavior needs to be reined in.
So not only do you have county sheriffs calling ICE's tactics, quote, Bush League policing, you have Fox News viewers throwing in the towel. I mean, it's no wonder Trump's giving Kristi Noem the cold shoulder over this and revamping his entire immigration enforcement strategy.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to add the MeidasTouch podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts for new updates every single day.